Hi everyone. So I am actually going to show you how I make my lemon parmesan chicken. It is something that I tried somewhere and I was like, oh my goodness, this tastes so good, I'm going to try to make it. And so now I'm on a hyperfixation of my lemon parmesan chicken and I am loving it. And so is everybody else. So here I am going to show you guys how I make it, and hopefully I show you correctly. What you're going to need is 3 lemons. I do kind of wash off the outside because what we're going to do is we're going to zest the outside. You're going to need either a zester or one of these little ones. Make sure that the holes are smaller. And what we're just going to do is we're going to take off the outside rind part. You don't need to go all the way down to where the juices are. If you have never done anything like this, what you're going to do is we're going to take off that very top part, and it's going to kind of look like this. So your lemon's going to look whiter. You're not all the way down to that juice, and in the inside you're going to have that. So we're going to start with that, and we're going to do that to all 3 lemons. Okay, so now I'm at the end of this, and it looks kind of like this. You can still see some of the skin on there. And one pass normally doesn't do it. Sometimes you have to go like this, and that's okay if you go like a little bit more than just straight up the top of the zest. And just get it to, you want it to look as close to this as you possibly can for all 3 of them. Okay, so now that we've done that, normally at this point, what I do is I cut the lemons in half and I start to squeeze them. Doing so allows for all those lovely juices. I try to only do 2 to 2.5 of the lemons in this. This is what we coat the naked chickens in. Before we put it in the breadcrumbs. And then I take that last lemon or last half a lemon and I squeeze it over the top of it so that it has like a fresh lemon right on top after it's been cooked. So I usually try to take my 2 large ones, which I think I'm gonna go with these last end ones and leave that last one, and I'm gonna cut it in half. So once I cut it in half, I just I try to look on the inside and see if there's any seeds that I can actually just kind of pick out a little bit, because I really try not to put seeds inside of my container. Sorry, this is my biggest, widest container that I've got. And I squeeze it in there, and I do just a little bit just so that I can catch those seeds as they happen, so I'm not fishing them out as much as possible. A lot of people like to put it into their hand. I still find that they just kind of like roll right out of my hand. So once I squeeze it in, I usually can catch a couple of them and just pick them right out. Usually I do pretty good on that one. And once I've done that, I have it towards open like this. And then what I like to do is I like to take my thumb. Now, preface, this is where you're going to find out if you wear gloves, which I highly recommend if you would like to. I just don't have any that fit my hand right now. But if not, if you have paper cuts, I promise you you're going to find them. But I like to go in, and each lemon, like they have like these little dividers here, you know, just like lemon or oranges do. And I like to shove my thumb down in there and like break up all of that lemon juice out of each little like pocket thing. In doing so, not only do I get all those seeds to pop out so I can catch them, but most of that juice can come out, and then I can just go like that. And it's super easy that way. I seem to not have to squeeze the outside so much or turn it inside out, which I see a lot of people like to do, is turn it inside out. I don't have an orange squeezer juicer thing that, you know, I don't have one of those. I just use my hands. If you have one, that's super great, but I do not. So I go the old-fashioned way, and that's how I get my orange juice or lemon juice or whatever juice I'm deciding to juice that day. So once I'm done, that's kind of what it's going to look like. All the juice is in my container, and I'll do that for all of my lemons. And once that's done, then I'll show you. Okay, so now that I've done all 4 of the halves, I am now going to move on to the garlic. Now, I typically measure garlic with my heart, but usually you want like 2 to 3. I grabbed elephant garlic, so I'm using one large one. The reason I did that is because I use this thing again. And I don't know if you know this, but this thing can be kind of dangerous and you really don't want to shave off your skin. So I'm going to use this and I'm going to shave this thing down. What I like to do first is I like to cut off the little root side, just a little hair of it, just so that it's not so tough to start shredding. And when I say just a little hair, I mean like teeny bit. Once I cut that part off, I'm ready to go ahead and start shredding. But literally all I do is I take this and then I just rub it on there and I get my garlic in there. That's all I do. So once I get this down into my lemon juice, my lemon zest, I'll show you where we go from there. Okay, so now that I have done that whole thing, a lot of times you'll get some that like plop down because of weight, and then other times you'll get this. So it's just a nice little paste, and the back side is not sharp, so I usually just take it and plop it right in. And then I make sure that this one is the one that you can only go swipe your finger one way and basically cut it the other way, you're fine. So I always go the opposite way and I clear it right off and get as much as I possibly can, obviously, since I can go only one way. And once I can get majority of that off that way, then I'm basically done with this. So we're going to set that aside and we're going to be done with that portion. Now that we've gotten our nice little lemon juice, lemon zest, and our garlic, this is almost done. One other thing I like to add is you can add a egg yolk. I wouldn't do the whole egg, but I would just do the egg yolk. It'll help it adhere to the chicken breast or chicken thigh, whichever one you prefer. And then I add Parmesan to it. That's what we want to add to make it cheesy. So we're going to add the Parmesan and the egg yolk. We'll mix it together. That will be ready for when we dip the chicken in there, and then we'll bread it afterwards. And I'll show you what it looks like here in just a little bit. Hi. Okay, so whenever chicken comes, I buy the big pack at Walmart because it's just more efficient for myself and my family. It usually comes pretty thick. And so I want to make sure that I get this pretty trimmed down. I try to trim around any of like the veins and tendons that happen to go through the chicken breast. And then sometimes I even have to pat it down pretty far because it's a little too thick. And I find that it's easier to cook, faster to cook, and I can just tell when it's done quicker. I do want to preface, when you're cooking chicken, you want to make sure it's fully cooked all the way through. The safest way is to do a thermometer test. I do not have one, and I've been cooking chicken long enough that I either just cut it open or I can tell by how it feels whenever I'm touching it with the tongs whenever I'm cooking it. That is not to say that everybody should do that, so please don't do that. If you have not cooked chicken before, make sure it's completely cooked through and white. But back to my previous point, I want to make sure that whenever I'm cooking, especially pan frying chicken, I want to make sure everything is as even as possible. It means more prep work because then I have to cut. I have to, you know, either use a mallet or use my hand or whatever is handy to really make sure that I pat down the chicken. But I find that if I do it this way, I just know that whenever I get to pan frying it, it's easier. Now this one up top, or I guess down low now, this is a little bit thicker than what I want. So now, because I don't have a mallet, which is one of those food hammers, if nobody knows what that is, I am going to use my hand and I'm just going to basically hammer it down. And try to just get it as thin or as evenly thin as possible. this will not only tenderize the meat, but it will also make it a little bit more thin, so that way it cooks evenly. That whole piece does, number one, and number two, every piece is as even as possible. So whenever I have it in the pan and it's going, it's good. So that's why I do the more prep on this one. You can do it one full chicken breast, one thigh. Thighs are a little bit more even when it comes to cooking those, so that's a little bit easier on that side for sure. All right, so now that I've cut all the chicken up and I'm now mixing the breading. So really, I like to get the Panko breadcrumbs Italian style. You can get the name brand, it's totally okay. I'm just cheap, I like the Great Value brand. So I grab that one and I get the Parmesan cheese. And I like to mix it 50-50 as best as I can. I just eyeball it, whatever you preference. If you want less of one, more of the other, totally fine. And then I like to add salt and pepper and some paprika. Paprika is my most favorite seasoning ever. And all I'm going to do is dip the chicken into the mixture that we made earlier, and then into the breadcrumbs, and then we're going to pan fry it. We're going to put butter down. We're going to melt the butter, and we want a whole layer of butter, and we're going to just make sure that there's always some sort of butter in the pan. That's how you pan fry it. We are not going to have it like a thick layer. We just want to make sure that the entire pan is coated in butter, which I will show you here in a minute. I'm just going to mix this first, and then we'll get back to that. All right, so now it is time to bread and cook. All right, what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our lovely mixture here. We're gonna dip the chicken in, then dip it in here, and we're gonna put it right in the pan. So I'm only gonna use one hand as best as I can. I try to only use one hand when I do raw chicken. And I'm just gonna take my lovely chicken here, and I'm gonna put it in here. So all I'm gonna do, and I'm just gonna really try to coat it in there. It's not all gonna stick on the chicken like I kind of said earlier, and I try to like go like this a little bit so that way I have some left over, but as you can see, it did stick. And then I try to cover it up like you would in sand if you were at the beach, where we all wish we would be. And then I try to push it down in there so it really kind of sticks in there. And I turn it over and I do it one more time. And then once I do that, I just kind of lift it up, do a nice little shake again, and then I transfer it right into the pan. And that's that.
And the pan is on medium heat.
Yeah, it's usually on medium heat. You don't want it too high because it'll burn it and it won't cook it all the way through. And you don't want it too low because then you're sitting there forever and you'll never get a sear on it.
Yeah, it'll just burn our butter.
Absolutely. So I'm going to do this as quickly as possible. Try to fill the pan at one even level. And then once that is done, I will show you how long, approximately how I wait. So you want to wait probably 3 to 4 minutes-ish, and then you'll flip it and do the same thing. You want to leave it alone when you do breading. If you're not doing breading, that's a whole different situation. We can show you different later. But let me get back to breading these. All right, now I'm going to flip. One of the big indicators is you can see a little bit of golden coming up the chicken. In addition to, it's been about 3 minutes or so. So now I'm going to try. I never, ever can accomplish this, but I'm going to try to flip it without taking off the breading. So, wish me luck. But as you can see, I did take some of that breading off. It's not a big deal. And this one's going to have to cook longer, as I can already tell by just feeling it. It's a little too squishy. But look at that sear on those. And then I can also tell by looking at it that if you look right in here, it's absorbed that butter. They're not swimming in it, but they are over here. Yeah. I'm going to add a little bit more butter in there. Good so choice. That way it's actually still pan frying and not just, you know, whatever you want to call that. But yeah, we're going to add some more butter. Let it do its thing on that side. So the first one I flipped will probably be done after another 3 minutes. The other two probably need to sit for 1 minute, 2 minutes longer. So something along those lines. And then we'll show you that. So this one needs to go longer. This one is done. So we're going to take this guy and hopefully not take all the breading off. And I think I'm failing at that. And set him right there. And this guy, I think we're going to try to turn him over. Give him another second. This guy definitely needs a little bit longer. Yeah, right there is a little much. But here, A lot more firm, as you can, I don't know if you can even see.
You can see.
Okay.
You see.
There's just not as much of a bounce. Well, this one, a lot more bounce. We need him to be a lot more firm. So that's how I typically can tell that in the time. But I mean, the most accurate way definitely is a thermometer. You want to make sure that you have it fully cooked with a thermometer, and then also cutting it open. But I've just, over the many years of cooking, I have found just pushing on it works really, really well. Just be safe when you're cooking your chicken. Alright, now I have plated it. We did some homemade Alfredo pasta with colorful pasta because we are children in this house.
Right. The sauce is homemade, not the noodles.
Yes. Well, I can do that, but I don't feel like it right now. And then I did some broccoli in there, so that's delicious. And the chicken is done, and those are delicious. And so now, the only thing we need to add is probably a fresh squeeze of lemon, and we are ready to eat.